Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. No matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland brothers. Come on, be in it and join in the fun. Travel all over Australia.
Have you ever heard of a Staurolite? Well, they're found right here near Mount Isa. We're going to have a look at that in our first story. It's a crystal formation in the shape of a Maltese cross. Then we go to Coober Pedy to have a look at the lifestyle of the people that live at Coober Pedy, and in particular the underground houses there.
And our final story comes from Victoria, down here at Lakes Entrance. There we take a look at the famous Gippsland Lakes.
We're in northwest Queensland at the mining township of Mount Isa. We're here because we have a letter from Jody and Mark Brabazon of Waddles Creek in Victoria. They've just returned from a trip halfway around Australia, and they wrote, "We would like you to go to Mount Isa to see where the Maltese crosses are found. We were told they're only found in 3 places in the world: Mexico, Russia and Mount Isa. They're found near Mount Frosty. We've enclosed a Maltese cross for you to see, and maybe you can find some good ones. They only seem to be found in a square mile area." Well, Jody and Mark, thanks for sending us the sample of the Maltese cross. They're really called Staurolites, and to find them we have to drive from Mount Isa 30 kilometres down the highway, out past Mount Frosty, as you said, into the bush. At the suggestion of a friendly desk sergeant at the Mount Isa police station, we turned south off the highway near Mary Kathleen to follow an abandoned railway line to the site where the Staurolites can be found. This route is more scenic than an alternative track closer to Mount Isa, that is suitable only for 4-wheel drive. Fountain Springs, a sweet freshwater pool under a colourful rocky outcrop, is a pleasant place to take a break from the dusty track. This is a permanent waterhole fed by a small spring in the rocks at the edge of the pool. Some smaller varieties of wildlife are obvious at the waterhole. Looking just like leaves on the tree, thousands of butterflies take flight when disturbed. The old railway line we are following was used to transport copper ore to the Wee McGregor copper leaching plant over the range from here. Reminders of the past can still be found beside the track. As in most mining areas, accidents claim the lives of many early settlers. On the side of the track you can see a few graves. We stopped to look at this one and see the headstone on here is actually the head of a shovel. Thomas Tame has now got a shovel for a headstone because somebody's stolen his original headstone, even out here where we're miles from the highway. The railway lines have been removed for their scrap value years ago, and the track is now only used by an occasional 4-wheel drive vehicle. A 100-metre long tunnel burrows through the range. Our Ford just fits into the tunnel. A rock fall has partly blocked the entrance.
The cutting on the western side of the range opens out to look down on the Wee McGregor copper mine and leaching plant. We are getting close to the area where the Staurolites occur and make our way along an overgrown track between the Wee McGregor and Mount Frosty mines.
We've arrived at the site where the Staurolites are supposed to be. It isn't very far from the Wee McGregor copper mine, which is only another 3 or 4 kilometres up the track. It's in this area here. They tell us we can just look anywhere and you should be able to find them. The ground here is very hot, so and the sun's very hot, and it's the afternoon, so I'm going to put my hat on before I go.
The area where we are looking for the Staurolites is very similar to that through which we have been travelling. Without specific directions and a good mud map, it will be difficult to locate the right spot. The ground in this area is covered by millions of tiny brown stones, which on closer examination prove to be crystalline in their structure. Staurolite is an iron aluminium silicate, often found with garnet-like rocks. Metamorphic rocks have been altered by heat pressure or chemical action deep beneath the Earth's crust. The crystals are brown to black in colour and have been broken or weathered from the bedrock over thousands of years. The Staurolite crystal has a hardness of 7. That means it is harder than a steel file. The best time to look is after rain, when the surface soil has been washed away and fresh Staurolites are exposed.
Well, Jody and Mark, we've been looking for about an hour now, and we've found a few Staurolites, but it's rather hard work, as you probably know. The temperature here today is 39 degrees Celsius, and it's very hot, and the ground, you can't put your hand on the ground, it just burns your fingers on the stones. We've been looking for just over an hour, and we found 2, 4, 6, 8 Staurolites. Some of them are better than others. Some are just formed, and the other ones you can see the Maltese cross very clear on. But it's not a place to stay in the summer. This is November now, and it's really the wrong time of the year to come looking for these. You're better off in the winter up here. But once you get here into the site, it's not that difficult to find them if you look around through this sort of browny soil where there's lots of little stones that are just like them. But when you look closely, you see the ones that have got the little formations on them.
A Maltese cross occurs when twin crystals join at 90 degrees, forming a perfect cross. For every one like this, there are thousands of imperfect crosses. Maltese crosses are used in jewellery and kept as lucky charms. A real gem from nature's workshop.
We're at Coober Pedy in South Australia. The temperature in the sun here today is 50 degrees Celsius. That's 121 Fahrenheit. We're here because we have a letter from Mrs. Crosby of Pascoe Vale in Victoria. Mrs. Crosby wrote and said, "My son David and daughter Rhonda are very interested in your program and would like to know if you're planning a trip to Coober Pedy. They'd like to find out more about how the people manage to live in the harsh climate. Do they all live underground? If so, where do they get their power from? And how do they get their supplies of food, etc. to keep them going?" Well, Mrs. Crosby, for Rhonda and David, we're going to have a look at Coober Pedy for you and see how the people live here.
The area around Coober Pedy is like a giant ant bed, with a network of tunnels and holes under the ground. Not only do most of the people work underground, but they also choose to live underground, to escape the oppressive summer heat and the dust-laden winds that seem to blow constantly across the town. Coober Pedy has a population of around 5,000, with a large proportion of immigrants here to make their fortune. The only strip of sealed road is down the main street, which has a good range of shops. Opals are the reason for Coober Pedy's existence. This fact is quite obvious when one looks around the town.
People in Coober Pedy get their electricity supplies from their own home diesels or from town power. In the early days, all the electricity came from wind generators charging banks of batteries, like the one we have here. and they're still used now as emergency supplies.
Living 1,000 kilometres north of Adelaide in South Australia's desert, the residents of Coober Pedy have always had to be self-reliant in most things, such as power and water. But with the population expanding at a rapid rate, modern amenities have come to the opal mining town. Along with limited town power, water, the most important commodity, is now available from a town desalination plant, capable of producing 33,000 gallons in 24 hours. Salty mineralised water flows from deep underground, then is processed through a series of intricate pipes that filter out the impurities.
With the high pressure, 650 pounds a square inch, forced out through the membrane, collected in the outside tube and runs out the end. It's the reverse osmosis process.
Rainfall here is poor and unreliable. Water was once carted hundreds of kilometres from a bore north of the township. Now it is only carted from the desalination plant to the dugouts in the mining field. A tanker load of water costs about $30 delivered. Phil Cruz makes daily deliveries of water to dugouts and houses around Coober Pedy. The water from the desalination plant still has an odd taste. Most residents try to save rainwater for drinking and use the desalinated water for other household purposes. Water deliveries are made to hundreds of dugouts each week, some in outlying mining areas and some in the town's residential areas. Dugouts come in all sizes, from the simplest tunnel to elaborate multi-roomed homes with modern facades.
Most people in Coober Pedy live underground. This here is the outside of a typical dugout. It doesn't look very big on the surface, but underneath the ground it extends quite a way. The water tank on the top there is to give the pressure to the taps inside. Well, Mrs. Crosby, we're inside an underground home. The underground homes here at Coober Pedy are not actually underground, as you'd imagine, like down into the ground. They're built into the side of hills. And these hills are made of this soft form of sandstone, which is quite easy to dig with picks and things. And they dig them into the ground and make their homes inside the hills. Now, this is the kitchen area of this house, and here we've got the normal things you find in a kitchen: a refrigerator, and a stove, wall oven, table, and normal kitchen equipment. The house extends right around the back here, which we'll have a look at in a moment, but behind me there is the dining room. The dining room is about 4 metres across, which is the maximum recommended to build in a dugout, because if you do build any wider than that, you need to put a support in the middle. And all the walls are all arched in to help support the weight of the ceiling. We're in one of the bedrooms of the dugout, and above me here is one of the ventilation shafts. Quite a few of the rooms have got these shafts. It goes up to the surface, which is about 3 or 4 metres above us. The shaft here at night is covers taken off it to allow the hot air to go out, and during the day the cover's put back on to keep the cool air in. And the temperature inside the room here, or inside the dugout itself, is between 5 and 10 degrees cooler than it is outside. The shaft also has bars across it here to stop burglars coming in.
This dugout has 2 bedrooms. The main one is at a lower level, where it is a few degrees cooler. This dugout is owned by Faye Naylor, who runs the Opal cave in Coober Pedy. Faye kindly allowed us to film her dugout home for you. The perfect spot for a wine cellar.
Sitting in the lounge room of the dugout, the temperature here is beautiful and cool. In fact, it's 24 degrees Celsius. And outside, the temperature on the ground was 50 degrees Celsius. And if you go back to the old scale of Fahrenheit, it's 121. Even in the shade outside, it's 36 degrees. So you can see why a lot of people live underground at Coober Pedy.
That's how the residents of Coober Pedy cope with everyday life in the desert.
This is the entrance to the Gippsland Lakes district in the eastern part of Victoria, and it's quite near to a town called Lakes Entrance. And we've come here to answer this request from Michelle Temple from Chelsea Heights in Victoria, who writes to see the Gippsland Lakes in Victoria and the district around Meetung. Lakes Entrance, a country town of 2,000 people, is the unofficial capital of the Gippsland Lakes. It attracts many thousands of visitors every year, offering a friendly holiday atmosphere in the centre of extensive fishing areas. The town is situated on a narrow strip of land surrounded by water. It's a short walk over a long footpath to the sand dunes and extensive ocean front of the 90-mile beach. From the air, it's easy to appreciate the ideal location of the town, which derives its name from the nearby entrance to the extensive system of lakes. The lakes were frequently landlocked as nature had left them, but the increase in trade on the lakes in the 1860s and 70s created the demand for the man-made entrance, which now maintains a permanent channel for shipping. With 380 square kilometres of lakes connected to this narrow entrance, the tidal current is very strong. Lakes Entrance today is the home port for Australia's largest fishing fleet. One of the fascinating geographical features of the lake system is the narrow strip of land known as the 90-mile beach, which separates the chain of lakes from the ocean. Some of this is national park. Most of it is a natural sanctuary for wildlife, and all of it is a recreational paradise for boating and fishing enthusiasts. The Gippsland Lakes area was first seen by Angus Macmillan in 1840. He thus became the first white man to sight this picturesque spot in Victoria. He was searching for pasture land when he discovered the lakes and was so impressed with the region that he described it as the finest country in the world. The lakes later became the centre of an extensive steamshipping operation, an activity which increased when the channel opening was completed in 1889. This paddle steamer was one of many on the lake in the old days, and was brought from the Murray River to the lakes by Captain James Bull, a man closely linked with the Gippsland Lakes story. Today, the rotting hulk of the Barrabogie lies on the shoreline at Paynesville, having served as a floating hotel during the land boom. Later, it was used as a cargo vessel on the lakes. It was built from Red River gum at Echuca on the Murray River. The Bull family is still active on the lakes at Meetung, operating a boat building yard since 1926. The extensive slips and boat building works here have carried out many a repair to cargo ships in the past, and built all kinds of boats. Today, the techniques of modern aluminium construction may be different, but the craftsmanship and knowledge is backed by 3 generations of experience. To a great many visitors, the Bulls are best known for their impressive fleet of hire cruisers. These sturdy old timber vessels of 13 metres length provide all modern facilities for the hirer, and probably the most pleasurable way to see the lake system. They're operated by the hirer, and most of Bull's customers have never skippered a boat before in their lives. The lake's many channels, islands and rivers provide almost unlimited possibilities for the cruisers. They are of shallow draft and can go almost anywhere on the lakes. Even in the tourist season, the lakes are so extensive that it's always possible to find an isolated spot to enjoy the natural, seemingly unaltered nature of the lakes. Exploration of the foreshore offers almost unlimited possibilities, and fishing on the lakes is reputed to be excellent. The system is made of 3 major lakes, King, Victoria and Wellington, and are connected by interesting rivers and channels. Many of the smaller estuaries and rivers which flow into the lakes provide sheltered anchorages and isolation. One of the largest rivers, the Mitchell, displays an unusual geographical feature which brings scientists from all over the world to study. The flow from this river is the greatest of all on the lake system. However, by comparison with the Volga and Mississippi rivers, it's little more than a trickle. Yet it shares with those great rivers these remarkable silt jetties. Silt, carried down the river for millions of years, was deposited on either side of the channel, building these extensive jetties into King Lake. The wave action on the lake was too weak to break down the deposits, and so they grew. However, the opening of the lakes to the sea at lake's entrance has increased the salinity of the water, thus killing the reed swamp plant around the edges. And now, without the reeds to trap the silt, the jetties have stopped growing and are now receding. In time, the jetties may disappear forever. Steps are being taken to try and curb the erosion, but even if they're not taken quickly enough, Angus Macmillan's assessment that this is the finest country in the world will still apply.
Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. No matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland brothers. Come on, me in it and join in the fun. Travel all over Australia.